Hey, Gamecock fans, welcome back to another episode of Alumni Game. We're back this week, wrapping up some of our portal talk here. Gamecocks have gotten a lot in the portal, but now officially, well, I had my fun portal background here. I was lost in the portal, but now no, we're closed. No more
Like the
portal.
Matrix.
At least for now. We got some in, we got a few out. We even have some connections here. You know, we're all kind of reeling off of this national championship game last night with Indiana. And so by the end of this episode, we'll kind of tie it into that and talk about how the portal kind of helped them get where they are and how those connections might, be good for Carolina for this upcoming year, too. But first and foremost, got to intro everybody. I'm your host, Mike Ritchie, class of '06. With me, as always, my trusty teammates, Sam Niedermeyer, class of '06, and John Buster Clarkson, class of '02. Ready to break down some portal news here for the Gamecocks. Like I said, we got some in, some out. Portal's now closed for business, if you didn't see the sign. Biggest get for me that, the last couple days here is probably this running back out of Texas, Christian Clark. 6 foot, 212 pounds, real thick guy. And I guess he had torn his Achilles at Texas, and that's kind of why he was sitting around. They were hoping he would stay. So, look, a little bit of a re-injury risk with that. Obviously, we've seen that in other guys lately. Who was it? George Kittle on the Niners had an Achilles injury, and that did take that. They are saying that's going to take like a year. But feels like a big get, right? I mean, we needed to fill out the running back room. We got some other names here. I'm going to let the guys hit first, but I guess first and foremost, guys, what do you think about this running back from Texas? Is he maybe our number one?
Uh, I so I don't want to say number one because I don't know how Bryles operates a running back rotation. We do have a new running backs coach in Stan Drayton and a new offensive coordinator, so I don't know how
Mhm.
they will work the running back room. But what I do like is if anybody watched that game last night, they saw Kalen Black for Indiana. The way he would attack the holes. I remember turning to my buddy that I was watching the game with, and I was like, dude, he runs violent. Like he's like the Chaco for the in the NFL. Like just he hits the hole with such violence and being that size, like 6 foot 212, and being a strong lower body, very muscular. You can imagine the kinetic energy that he creates by explosively hitting the hole. So I think that is a very good attribute to have. Not saying that we don't have that. We did see some great flashes from Jordan Howell and Matt Fuller this past year, but if you have a proven commodity, and I think this guy's proven because from everything that I've heard, Texas wanted him to stay there. After he rehabbed from the Achilles, they were looking at him to be part of their feature in the running back rotation this next year. So being able to get that and bring it over to us, and maybe it potentially complements what Matt Fuller does, or complements what Juwan Howell does, or any of the two other guys we got in transfer portal. Those guys, there's a potential that we could have a very strong rotation, or the fact that there's competition in camp that pushes these guys to then find one that stands out come fall camp.
Yeah.
So that's it's a win-win situation for all involved. Stable running back, competition, and then steady rotation. Boom.
Is there a
He's
connection for him to Carolina that he would come here over maybe staying in Texas?
I don't know. I was trying to look up see if he was. There's usually some kind of connection, like either a cousin or family member that played at Carolina or is currently on the
Yeah,
roster.
yeah.
But I didn't get a chance to look at all that. I was looking more at his measurables and some of his film
Yeah,
out of
makes
high
sense.
school. So
Yeah, he's
he
originally from Arizona, so I don't know what the connection would be.
he
yeah,
finished before his injury with 236 yards rushing. And if anybody knows anything about our running game last year, you would know that he was probably the highest rusher on our team last year if he ran for 236 yards. So he would have finished fourth behind Matthew Fuller. But he did the beautiful thing is he did average about 4.3 yards per pop. He looks like a running back. He like more so than Faison, Fuller, Attaway. This guy just looks like a running back.
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's a freshman, right? So he's got a lot of time left too if he wants to.
Yeah, I don't know because I know he's got the medical red shirt from the Achilles. I don't know if there was any other red shirts from freshman year, but obviously Wilson. I know it's more than 1 year, so he's got
Yeah, he
multiple
enrolled
years of.
January 2024 is when he enrolled in college.
Yeah, So,
Yeah, so he's got
and
plenty.
also, I put a note in our show notes, but one of the things that is underrated that I really like, apparently he's very strong at picking up blitzes. So
Ooh, love
we
that.
saw some
Ooh.
bad misses by Rasul um, this past year. So I'm just like, someone that great if he could run the ball, but just as great that he's able to pick up a blitz and protect our
Yeah,
quarterback.
no, it's a
That
big
might be
Saw
no.
too
that might
many
be
misses
even
last
more
year.
important in this. Like, so even if he like picks up the blitz, right, you can still kind of delay the guy and then come out for like a little screen and be the check
Hmm.
down guy, right? So just slow it
Yeah.
up a little bit. Lenore's then gets it. I think that could be an interesting game for him, especially in this Brawls offense. But Faison, yeah, that was the reason why Faison wasn't getting a lot of snaps, and that's because he's not a good blocker at all. He doesn't have the size, and so this guy's got
Yeah.
the size, and I think great addition, Mike Buster here on picking up blitzes. Underrated tool for a running back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd agree. I mean, the only thing I would say is like I would hesitate to say like fully proven yet because he is young, he is
Mhm.
still a freshman, he is coming off an injury. But if he hit the portal and he came in and they worked him out and they saw what they saw, that kind of skips some of that. He'd have to learn a little bit on our scheme and what he's required to do blocking, but yeah, love the violence playing with that violence. I almost feel like both of those running backs last night, the Miami running back too, like both just
Oh
run.
yeah, Fletcher. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of power, a lot of speed, can really break things open. Kind of reminds a little bit of what James Cook was doing, for the Bills too. Like
Yeah.
can really
Good
can
point.
be violent a little bit at the point of attack, but then can really hit and run downhill for a long period of time,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool. But yeah, no, I would totally agree. Getting on the field and staying on the field is going to start with picking up the blitzes. If you can't protect Sellers, I don't care how well you run the ball, you're not going to be out there quite as much. Um,
Yep.
he needs that protection. Speaking of sellers in that room, we did need to flesh out the QB room a little bit more with just Cutter Woods back there. We got another one now, Lucian Anderson the third from Bowling Green, another experienced QB that can kind of teach both of those guys. Kind of almost feels like a coach in that QB room, like a vet maybe who could step in if he needed to in a certain situation.
Oh yeah. What was it? I felt like this happened in the NFL last year where they picked up like a maybe was it Drew? It was not Drew Brees, but there was something where they picked up a veteran quarterback that they knew wasn't going to be part of this rotation as a backup. Like we saw last year, we got Air Nolan that we thought was going to be Lenore's backup, and ended up Carter Woods. You know, honestly,
Bald,
did better being
Flashed,
bald
than
out.
yeah,
ever did.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Check our Cutter
to
Woods
me,
episode.
yeah, link somewhere.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah, no. So
Cutter.
the thing to me is if we are looking at Cutter being Lenore's backup, and then we're getting four-star Landon Duckworth out of high school, those two guys are so young, and they're going to learn under the quarterback coach, and they're going to learn from Lenore. But when Lenore is taking reps, you need another experienced quarterback there in their ear talking to them like, okay, this is what Lenore is doing. Or, hey, so the QB coach and the offensive coordinator, so this is their plan on this particular player, this particular scheme. While Lenore is out there throwing some reps, I want you to look at this and I want you to look at that and watch how we do this rep and watch how we do it this way. You have an extra guy to talk to these guys and get into their ears. And that's to me what I'm looking at with Lucian is obviously he can be a body that can play if worst case scenario comes up and there's some reason where we have to go to him. Of course, like he can
Could
play
totally
football.
happen.
We're
Yeah.
not getting a coach. We're getting an actual football player. But for the most part, I think this choice was so that we have somebody else as a mentor in that room, and that again, I think is a very positive thing to have
Yeah, it feels like it
for
fits with the new sort of coaching tree we have on the offensive side that you need someone to get all these other guys on the right page to step into the room with
yeah,
sellers and be ready, right? We're about to talk about some other wide receivers that we're getting who are coming back to Carolina. We got a lot of new faces at wide receiver, and there's only going to be a couple of guys that Sellers has thrown passes to. So if these guys are trying to get into the starting mix, they got to kind of pass through Lucian first, right? And like catch passes from him and his cadence
yep,
and the system, and then can kind of graduate in a way to Sellers in that starting lineup. That feels like how this is going to operate. And yes, like Lucian feels much more valuable than just a backup quarterback in terms of a coaching perspective. Um, you know, obviously from Bowling Green, not quite the same as an SEC team or whatever, but you'll notice a theme here that we're grabbing a lot of guys that are looking to step up. I mean, Christian Clark, I think, is different because he comes from Texas and would have been a starter. But these other guys feel like a little bit like diamonds in the rough from smaller schools that fit our scheme, fit our culture, and flesh out the squad. So to that end, we got couple more offensive guys, and then we'll get into the guys out. But the wide receivers I'm mentioning first, wide receiver Charlie Mullally from I think I'm saying that right, Mullally from Holy Cross, and
Yep.
wide receiver DJ Black from UCF. Um,
Yep.
Two guys with tons of size. Well, Mullally's 6'0", but DJ Black is 6'3", both big guys. Mullally coming from Holy Cross, I haven't seen much of him. I haven't seen much of Holy Cross, so I'm not really sure, what he's bringing exactly. I think he's a little bit older, right? He's like a
Yeah, I think
junior.
because this one wasn't anything that was on my radar. What I'm looking at is most likely experience depth. And again,
Yes.
Ah,
just you want a full wide receiver room, and you want guys that if you know that they're not going to necessarily be part of the two deep, you want them there, like we were talking about at the quarterback position. You want them to have experience so that they can mentor some of the young guys and give some good practice reps for competition. So I look at that with Mullally,
yep.
and I think again that's a benefit. You get to have 105 scholarships. Like remember, it used to be 85 scholarships. You had to play with the numbers a little bit and kind of figure out maybe be a little bit more picky on who you take. Now with 105 scholarships available, you could go ahead and get these guys that are depth pieces and build out your locker room because. But one of the things I've always heard whether or not us Gamecocks were confident in our team and our program and whatever success we may have in the season, the outside critics and maybe experts that would say anonymously, I watched your practice, and this is what I would say. A lot of those guys always talked about Carolina's biggest problem was that we just didn't have the depth at the same level as your Alabamas and your Ohio States and your Michigans and your Georgias. So being able to have 105 scholarships and being able to go out in the portal and get him a Lolly, knowing that he may not be part of the two deep, but it gives us that
Yeah.
depth and it gives us those mentors in those wide receiver rooms outside of just the coach and the starters.
You guys remember watching the show The League?
Yeah,
Yeah. The
Yeah.
fantasy
love the
football
You
league.
show.
remember what they'd say about the white wide receivers? Oh, he's a gym rat. This guy's a
Jim
gym rat.
Rat.
He's a spark plug, right? Like
Spark plug.
he's scrappy. He's scrappy. This is the prototypical gym rat that you need at wide receiver that's going to get you the third and four, catch it in traffic type of play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he definitely
He'll
he
have like
had
one catch a game, but it'll be a first
yeah.
down on third down.
Yeah, I
Is
was gonna
who this
say he
guy
maxed
is.
out maxed out this past year with 5 catches at Yale.
Yeah.
But I can tell why he wants to get out of there. He lost every game he played in. He played in 5 games. I think Holy Cross only won 3 games. But this is a deep one, right? I mean, Charlie Mullally originally out of East Fishkill, New York. I know where that is.
oh,
That's
nice.
kind of a farm town up near Poughkeepsie. He's looking to play. I mean, he's a junior. He wants to keep playing. Probably not going to go pro, so he's bringing his all to play for Carolina. I'm down with that.
Yeah,
And look, we need some veterans in there with Van Drevius gone, and a couple guys are going to need to step up. So that's a good one. Is he a huge splash signing? No. But yeah, he fills out the room. I like that.
yep,
I think the other one, DJ Black, is probably a bigger deal coming out of UCF, bigger school, about the same age. He's also a junior. He's a little bit taller, and a hometown guy. So a different story here. He's originally out of Inman, South Carolina, and coming back home, probably to finish up with.
yeah. Went to Chapman High, which is the home of Debo Samuel. So
Very
good
good.
quality high school there. DJ, I think so. He started here as a walk on, and then obviously transferred out. Went to Limestone College, which is right up the road, where he was coached by his now wide receiver coach Mike Fury. And I think he balled
Nice.
out at
There's a
Limestone.
connection there.
Yeah, And I can't remember, but I think he had over 1,000 yards receiving at Limestone. Now, granted, that is a very, very large step down from playing at the SEC. But if you're coached by Mike Fury, then you were getting your skill set improved, and I think that's what it was. Is he balled out at Limestone, repped a bunch, was able to get his fundamentals down, his technique down, went up to UCF, had some success there, and so I think he wants to come back to play for his former coach and play for his in-state school. So why not? We got the room. I think he can have an impact. Again, don't know. We're not going to set the too deep at this point. We still have, your Nick Harbors out there that are raring to go. You got your Donovan Murphs. You got Jaden Sellers.
Yep.
Still got Malik Clark, Mike Cyrus, Jordan Gidron, who even redshirted. So there's a lot of talent there. But again, packing the room, bringing a experience, bringing a older mentor type, and bringing depth.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Malili both. Yeah, again with DJ, like nothing huge. Again, maxed out in their Cincinnati game last year with like 4 catches. But a possession guy and has scored too. Is a big wide receiver in the red zone. So we'll see. Going to need some chemistry with Sellers to get on the field, but maybe that happens. So keep going with offense here. We did get a tight end. I thought that was a necessity. We end up with tight end Max Drag out of UCF. So we end up grabbing a few guys out of UCF. Max Drag, bigger guy, 6'4", 250. Most likely blocking tight end here. Not known as this big wide receiver. But Sam, we talked about this the last few weeks. That's kind of all we need, right? I mean, our offensive scheme is not going to feature tight ends in that way, and like an offensive down the field type way, right?
We're not our tight ends aren't we're not tight end you. We're not even gonna try to be tight end you this year. It's gonna be come on in, block on the read options for Lenoris and for now Christian Clark, right? Like this is just come on in. He's a big body. Yeah, he could be a goal line target in the red zone. But this Kendall Browse offense, it's not gonna we're not worried about tight ends catching 10 balls a game. It's just not gonna happen. Not even
Yeah.
target him 10 balls a game.
No.
Right. But he'll come in on third and shorts, third and threes. He'll be the sixth offensive lineman to help spread that defense out and be another body on a linebacker or another edge rusher to chip away so we get that first down on third and short, third and four,
Yeah,
going for
he
an
feels like
option.
the type of guy that you use in that tush push that they're doing now. Like handing it to a fullback or a big tight end that runs to the side.
And maybe he gets some carry. That's a good point, Mike. Maybe he gets some carries. Maybe he does. Maybe he gets the third one. Hey, let's see how he does right here on a little tush push. Let's see how we can get it. I don't know if Browse is going to bring that into his repertoire this year, but he's certainly a guy that if you need 3 inches for a first down and you don't want Lenoris to get hurt, just give it to him. Just
Yep.
give
Yeah,
it
I
to
like
what's his
this. I
name?
like I
Max
like what
Drag. Just give it to Drag. Let him
I
drag
know.
across
I
the
love the
front,
name.
across the
It's
first
good.
down.
It's like I guess, if this were Top Gun, you would not want Max Drag, but
Yeah.
otherwise it's fine. But like coming out of Chapin, another guy who's coming home. He's only a sophomore, so he's got room and could stay. He came from App State and then UCF, so playing for some teams that play as underdogs and playing some big games. App State has at least a few big games a year, so that's pretty cool. Feels like a good
I'm
get.
s-
Feels like
I'm
something we needed, even if we aren't going to use it a lot.
I'm looking
Yeah.
at his picture right now. Like this is a self-aware man. He knows what he is. He's a blocking tight end, and he want
Yeah.
to hit.
Oh
He's
yeah.
looking to hit. So you know what? I like this. What's the self-aware tight end that looks to go for the
Let him
hit?
hit. Let him hit.
Yeah, I
I
like
like
that.
it. I like it. Cool. So we went through the running back, QB, 2 wide receivers, tight end. Now we got 2 O linemen, which we need those in droves. We ended up
Yeah.
with Armando Neves from New Mexico State, and okay, here we go.
Say it, Mike.
Ibu Bedlike Nabugu.
Ibubetike
Um,
Nabugwe. Is that it?
Ibu
Nabugwe.
Hidike Nabubu.
Nabugu out of
Yeah.
Missouri State. So look, both coming out of state schools. Both coming, well, yeah, and Missouri's not really West. Both huge guys. Neves is 6'7", 315. Good Lord, he's a friggin'
That's a tackle.
tank.
That's a tackle.
And then
We'll
Nabugu.
call him. We'll call him eBay. eBay. We'll
That's
call him
good. Yeah.
eBay for short.
Either that or Ebub. Ebub is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And then the end of his first name is kind of just bed-like, which
He's
is
a
kind of awesome.
bad man. I'm looking at him right now. He's a
Yeah,
bad
he's also
man.
very big at 6'3", 205. This feels like Twin Towers right here. I mean, these guys are massive.
Yeah, I think that with eBay, 6'3", 305. That's an interior. That's a guard. Armando, and his last name, he is of Latino descent, so that's Nieves.
Nieves.
So
Nieves. Okay.
Nieves. So and at
Nieves.
six
See if
seven,
he's
three
related to Will
fifteen, he's a
Nieves.
tackle. And again, I don't know what they are comparative to the likes of say Jacarius Peak that we got, or Emmanuel Poku out of East
Right, right,
Carolina,
right,
or
right.
Carter Miller. But like we keep saying, we're building depth. This is very important if we're going to make the run that we plan to make next year. You need to have depth on your team, and that 105 scholarships, fill it out while you can.
Get the big boys. This is their eighth portal pickup on offensive line. I love it.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
it. Right.
Yeah,
And that
Randy
doesn't
Clements
include
has
who
a
we're
lot to
bringing in
work
for
with here.
recruits, guys that are returning. So we're gonna have like 10, 12 offensive linemen on the roster. Love it.
yeah.
Nice. So it looks like Mbugwu was unranked in 2023 out of Baltimore. He signed with Delaware State and was there for a while. Redshirt as a freshman. And now he's over to us. He did appear in 12 games for Missouri State. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, he did pretty well for them.
Mhm.
Yeah, that feels like a really big get. I mean, obviously we need a few of these guys. We need a lot on the offensive line and like a whole offensive line. But they're putting it together. And like I said, Clements is getting the pieces. These two guys feel like real pillars that could really hold up that O line. So that's pretty awesome. Um, so that's kind of what we had, at least for where we left off last week with the portal. Now we're going to transition to some guys who were headed out. All right, so mainly offense, but that's what we got coming in for the portal. Portal's closed. We did have some guys head out. One was a little weird, is like in, out, dipping a toe in, out, kind of flippy floppy. We talked about him a few times, but Michael Smith originally was out and was going to Syracuse, but then wanted to come back to South Carolina, and there was some, haberdashery there about his contract and whatever, whatever. All that seems to have been sorted, except no, he's going to Ole Miss instead.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense, where they have a whole sea change there, but they're still pretty good. There's some opportunity there. God bless. There you go. We got a tight end. We're fine with that. But we did have another one head out, which stung a little. Desmond Umeozulu, D end, did commit to Alabama, so he's taken off. He definitely kind of flashed, and we were hoping he could step up for us with his size, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So Michael Smith, tight end, he's gone. Maybe we'll see him when we play Ole Miss at some point. And then Umeozulu at Alabama. So sucks to have him go to the competition, but not the biggest losses, right? I mean, we got a tight end, and we feel like we have what we need on defense, and if he's gonna go, he's gonna go, right?
Yeah.
The
I
way
mean,
you're quoting in and out, Mike. The way you're just saying in out, in out. I just thinking about Stanley Kubrick and Clockwork Orange right now. But
Field it out.
let's go
yeah,
ahead
yeah,
and
yeah.
go on to Buster's
Yeah, I mean, I'll
stuff.
be honest. Like when we sent off Michael Smith, I was kind of like, "See you later." That's fine. I did like what Buster was saying last week, that they did kind of pull the players and were asking them, and they all said bring them back. Okay, that didn't seem to be like enough. I mean, he something else was going on there. He was either playing one against the other, or wanted Ole Miss the whole time, but maybe was trying to up the offer, whatever had happened there. It's just when it gets into that, for me, that's a little bit of a negative side of the portal when it's like five different places, almost like we talked about that Tennessee quarterback last year who ended up going out to the West
Oh
Coast.
yeah,
Like,
Nico. I'm a
yeah,
Liga.
when you force yourself out and you end up getting less than you had before, and then you kind of throw yourself into anonymity, like I don't think that's necessarily a positive part of the portal. I think for him, I mean, from a national stage type of situation, like yeah, Ole Miss is probably a much better place to be than Syracuse, maybe a better place to be than South Carolina. I got to see that without Lane Kiffin before I believe that. But they played very well, into the college football playoff, and Ole Miss does feel like they're here to stay. So good for him. But with Umeozulu, it feels a little more like maybe that stings us a little bit because he was kind of helping out Dylan Stewart in that pass rush, and now we kind of need to replace that, right? So
Well,
that
I
that
mean,
feels a little more.
honestly, there's to me, I kind of feel like both situations there was some shenanigans involved. So I call shenanigans. Um, but the Michael Smith thing, it's the weird kind of girlfriend thing where she gets mad at you, break up. She goes and thinks she's going to find another guy in Syracuse. Realizes that other guy is not as good as you are. And so basically, what happened was with Michael Smith, uh, when he officially entered the portal, because you can't enter the portal in the middle of the season, you announce your intention to enter into the transfer portal. He may have went ahead and talked to Syracuse, maybe through an agent, and perhaps got a contract ready to go and sign. Uh, had second thoughts, decided to come back. Syracuse initially did not waive this contract, so there was some back and forth. Well, they finally did, so the idea was that he was going to get back in the boat. From what I'm told, what I've heard, and what I've kind of figured out is I know Ole Miss lost a ton of people on defense to the transfer portal this past all season, and so they were pretty much having to rebuild their defense or rebuild their offense. Sorry, and I think that with him being available and they have money, they went ahead and said, "Hey, we're the sexy new guy. Why don't you come over here?" And and probably maybe some issues with like maybe not feeling like he was completely wanted back here or second thoughts. I don't know. Either way, he's not on the team. We don't need him. Like Sam says, we got a tight end to
Don't need him.
block
Yeah,
for
yeah. It
Dylan.
seems like we had a plan anyway, so that's
And
fine.
then the weird thing with Desmond
Yeah.
is, and I only say this is weird because I remember last week, um, he put out an Instagram story or reel or whatever it's called, where he was showing some highlights that I guess that was put together by our media team, and it gave the impression that he was doing that run it back announcement that we see from some of our guys, and so it gave us the impression that he was looking forward to playing opposite Dylan Stewart, getting a bigger role because he flashed at times last year and had some really good plays, but he needed to pick up and be a little bit more consistent. He was a four-star recruit coming out of high school. He has the size at 6'6", 255, 260. So I was definitely thinking, from that potential kind of perspective we have talked about the last couple of weeks, that was something that we could look forward to pair him opposite of Dylan to give
Yeah.
Dylan a chance, and even maybe Desmond gets a chance. But then somewhere out of the blue, he announced right before the portal door closed, he announced that he was entering the transfer portal. I think that is part of, or had some impact from the Caleb Herring signing with us from Tennessee. We saw that Caleb Herring could be probably a really good complement to Dylan Stewart. Desmond maybe didn't want that kind of competition, but what's weird is he goes to Alabama. So I'm like, dude, that's even tougher competition in
Yeah, there's a
Alabama.
lot of
So I
competition
don't know
there.
exactly what the story there. Sam, do you have any thoughts?
Man, I gotta just question all these guys that are concerned about putting stuff on social media. Like the main thing, like I like the players that don't have social media. They're not focused on it. They got like 4 posts, right? One of them
Yeah.
is like them fishing with a big fish. It's like, okay, and this guy's focused on football. Got it. When you're out there like worried about how your brand is looking, I gotta start questioning everything about you as a football player. Maybe you're not in it for like you're in it for your own kind of personal game. Football is the ultimate team sport, man. Like, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. So if you're out there worried about what you're putting on. We saw with the Oregon coach Dan Lanning, he got bamboozled by some recruit who like came out to his house and jumped in
Oh
the
yeah.
pool, and then the next day was that last year, right? The next day he's like, "Oh, I'm actually not going to go to Oregon." It's like, where's your head? Like, what are you doing? Like, this is you
Yeah.
just want attention? You just need attention that bad? So,
Yeah.
if you're going to be worried about social media, I don't want you on the team.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Bottom line is these two guys are gone. We got guys in that I think are going to be great fits for our program. So yeah, port door closes. Don't let it hit you in the rear.
Yeah.
On the way
I
out.
like Coach
Deuces.
Niedermeyer's approach. No nonsense.
Yes.
You're
Yeah,
here to play or nothing else.
It's not even, it's like, yo, we all know it's all like fake, right? Like it's all like lies. Like if you're focused on that as like a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, I get it. Like you can fall into the trap, but if that's like your if that's like your main thing versus like going to practice and signing because this is your best fit, well, I guess you're out there for the fame, which is fine if that's your motivator. But guys, that doesn't motivate. That only motivates you so long, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I'm
right
old
now.
school on
That's
that,
only
maybe.
motivating, guys with the last name or guys who come from a lineage who can kind of buoy that for a while. I mean, look, I'm
I
not
like
trying to
all of our
come down on some
linebackers and
guys, but
defensive players. None of them like are ever on like social media. It's always like Justin King's doing it. Justin King's media. Shout out to them, by the way. He does a great
Yeah.
job. He does an absolutely great
Phenomenal
job.
job. They
Really, really
are
phenomenal job. But it's always
Oscar
like,
nominees if you could put in a category for media relations for a college athletic
yeah,
program.
that'd be
Justin King
good.
would
yeah.
definitely.
The NIL awards,
Let's see if we
that'd
can
be
Yeah.
start
awesome.
that. Let's get that trend started.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We should start giving out awards. But look, so that's pretty much, in and out of the portal, what's been going on. That's all done now. So these are the guys we have to add to the squad. Any of these guys, if you guys really want to hear a lot more, let us know. We got some more Gamecocks of the week we're going to start doing here in the off season. Kind of feels like, maybe a Max Drag episode. Maybe, oh my God.
What if his last
Ibadike,
name, what if his last name was Power?
Ibubadike,
Max Power.
something like that. I'm going to really work on that one. But
We
speaking of
have to
social
get his
media,
name right. You're right, Mike. We have to get his name right.
yeah, 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 yeah. I'm gonna train and I'm gonna work at it, Coach.
I
Thanks.
think we all gotta get it right. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Figure it out.
I don't
He
trust Google
deserves
to
it.
tell me what it is.
But speaking of social media and obviously how things are presented, obviously everything right now is all about the national championship, which was just the other night, Indiana, Miami. We kind of do see a relationship here between the portal and what Indiana's been able to do, right? I mean, Indiana was able to turn things around from like 100 years of nothing to national champion and 16-0, which is really insane. Now that's not to say like, oh, that's what they did and that's how they did it. I mean, that coach is definitely different and definitely hits different and has that team hitting different. I do not like to talk about a team as like perfect or making no mistakes because I feel like as people, everyone makes mistakes. But that team seemed to play as close to perfect as they could when they beat Ohio
Yeah.
State. I did not think they were for real. I will say that. After last year, I thought it was going to be more of that. I thought they were going to lose a game somewhere, or I thought once they beat Ohio State, they'd see Ohio State again in leading to the final. Look, I think Miami did them some favors going on the run they went on. Miami's run was near epic. I mean, both stories were pretty good, right?
Oh yeah.
Indiana having one of the craziest seasons of all time for a program that doesn't do this, beating their rival in a game they've never beaten. I mean, Ohio State was a behemoth, right? But the Miami story I really love too. I mean, Notre Dame got shut down there. Notre Dame is like, we deserve to be in there. We're not playing a bowl game. Then Miami goes on this run that's like, no, Notre Dame, you didn't deserve to be there.
I mean, dude, those stories are like Marcus Freeman being part of the broadcast. Like, how apropos was that? I was just
Yeah.
like, come on, like you,
Yeah, I
you
mean, there was
had
some weird things with broadcast this weekend. Having, Matt Ryan's been on CBS, and all of a sudden he's not there
yeah,
anymore because he's now the Falcons head of football, and then they
yeah,
throw in
director
Kirk
of
Cousins,
football.
who's another Atlanta quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's gonna be on CBS now. He's taking Matt Ryan's
I
Oh
job.
think he's
yeah,
gonna
Watch
be
yeah,
good.
that.
Yeah,
Watch that
he's got to be
happen.
careful with those crazy eyes of his. They have all these pictures of him with his eyes, and I'm like, what's going on? Um, but I think what we're getting at here is, part of what Indiana was able to do was through the portal, right? They got players on board. They found a lot of sort of guaranteed players that they could get, like not just hype, not just guys they would have to coach. They got them to buy in. They got them to be perfect. And they use that portal to get guys maybe not with star power, but guys that could completely buy in, right? A sort of motley crew from a lot of different places. Um,
yeah. I mean,
is that something we can foreshadow with the Gamecocks? Could the Gamecocks potentially look not necessarily replicate what Indiana did, but be that next team that takes that step the way they did,
yeah. I mean,
or even
I
a
think you
Miami
can.
team too.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. So we talked about this in the pre-show, and I was like, the perspective of the NIL and the transfer portal for most people is that there are so many players that are just constantly moving back and forth between teams, and they're playing for the name on their back of the jersey rather than front, and like all those different negative connotations. But Indiana shows that on the flip side of that coin, that the transfer portal and NIL can be used for good if done the right way. And I think that's what happened with Indiana was Cincinnati knew that he was not going to have an NIL budget that is even remotely close to Texas or Ohio State or even Alabama. But what he
Really,
does
Texas
know
Tech.
is football. He is a fantastic football mind. So what does he do? He uses the portal for Indiana in a way that he built a structure of reliable, consistent football players that love the game of football. And he got guys that didn't care about that brand name or didn't care about the name on the back of the jersey or didn't care about getting a bag out of it. Like he got guys that wanted to play football. And he was able to get guys that he knew could play football from JMU. He said, hey, come up to this level of football, playing the Power Five. I know that you can play football because I saw what you did as a 2-star or 0-star recruit, and you balled out at JMU. Use that same level of tenacity and football IQ and fundamentals and techniques, and bring that to a Power Five level. I'm not going to pay you $4 million that Texas can give you, but I can guarantee you that you're going to play successful game-winning football. So he did that. He used the portal wisely. He didn't have to go after the big names. He got guys that wanted to play football. And I think, too, what I kind of said in the pre show was that Cinetti is such a brilliant mind that he doesn't have to worry about all the X's and O's stuff because that is instinctual to him. All he needed to do was build a solid program. And that's what he did. And that's why I think he was successful. Because, again, they talked about it so many times during that playoff run. How many 4-stars? Was it 8 4-stars and 0 5-stars on that Indiana team? They had a special on ESPN where most of them were saying, yeah, I was a 2-star recruit out of high school. I was a 0-star recruit out of high school. Mendoza, Heisman winner, out of Miami's backyard. His house is 2 miles away from the Miami campus. He wanted to walk on, not even get a scholarship from Miami. He was just going to walk on, and Miami said no. What does he do? He goes and beats them in the national championship after winning the Heisman. So
Yeah, and even getting him to transfer, they got him from Cal, right? So
yeah,
like he went really far to then kind of come back a little bit. Yeah, no, that's a great point about him being right up the street from Miami. I mean, yeah, that is something that Miami kind of struggles with, like
they
recruiting
fumbled the bag
locally
on
for
that
them.
one.
But no, yeah, I'm looking at a lot of it. I mean, yeah, a lot of 4-stars. They recruited a lot of guys from other big programs too. Like on their offensive line, they got a couple 4-stars. They got one guy from Notre Dame, Pat Coogan. They had a lot of guys leave too and go to smaller schools, right? Because they wouldn't be able to play. So I think they used the portal in two ways. They were able to sort of like get guys the cream that rises to the top that wants to be here, and they were able to sort of cull out the guys who didn't want to be there, right?
Yeah.
And sent them off to smaller schools.
Mm-hmm.
Because or a lot of schools in the Midwest, I guess you would just say. Um, but no, I mean, I see what you guys are saying, the way that can lead like a couple of tweaks in a couple of places. Look, it's not going to be like a kicker like we said last week, but I think like these two DNs we talked about. I mean, sorry, these two O linemen that we talked about, these big boys in the middle, they feel like new big pieces for that O line, right? This tight end we got, yeah, he may be mainly a blocker, but he's like one of the only tight ends we have, so he's going to be a big piece at least in that room to lead that room. And I would sneaky say again, Lucian Anderson, that veteran quarterback, that feels like it's going to be key for Lenoris, for the rest of that room, for running the B team, for the spring game, for all the stuff coming up that starts to shape us as a team.
Yeah.
And that all comes from the portal.
I don't want Beamer doing this like Luke Doughty shit where he had like Luke Doughty playing when Lenore Sellers got hurt. Like, don't put Lucian Anderson in there. We know it's Will Cutter. Put Cutter in there as like our number two. Like Lucian Anderson can be the mentor, but I don't want
Yeah.
this like, well,
Mm-hmm.
like I know he loved Luke Doughty, but like Doughty just destroyed that Vanderbilt game. Like that, like let's put the best guy in there.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
Sellers is out, we don't need this like. Oh, he's a good leader on the. No, 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 no. We know Cutter's the best after Lenoris. Let's just go that route.
Yeah,
So
it's one of those where, and that's where Sam and I think you and I have talked about this once or twice too, is that if Shane attacked the portal the way he did this year, that we think is we thought this was a successful portal year, then he's attacking it similarly to what Cinetti did, where he's not getting the flashy names. Like if you look up and down, like these guys, they weren't the number one guy out of the number one portal guy out of Texas or whatever that's trying to go and get $4 million. He's not like we're not going getting Carson Beck when he left Georgia to go to Miami.
right.
What we're doing is we're getting guys that like he feels a need, he fits the scheme, and he wants to play football.
There's a plan.
And
There's an actual plan
Oh,
yeah,
huge
that
plan.
fits the
Yeah.
strategy.
yeah. So that's where I'm like, if Shane is doing it that way, that sounds very similar to what Cinetti did the last couple of years at Indiana. And if that's the case, then yeah, we can replicate what Indiana can do. I'm not saying that we will, because I mean, I'd love to say we will, but I think
We will.
Shane is doing enough that I think it looks very similar, and that we can replicate that same kind of progression and that mediocre rise. So yeah,
Love to hear
These are
that.
all like Bryles guys on offense. These are all guys that can play in that scheme on offense, and so I love it. That's the reason I
Yeah,
love it,
Browse
right?
is getting basically a hit
He's
squad.
getting,
His
hey
hit
man, you
squad.
come in, you're gonna get your guys, right? You're gonna get
yeah.
guys
I
that
mean,
fit your scheme.
we're getting that Max Drag. He's not going to be this flashy name in the portal, but let me tell you, he fits that Brile system, and he could be exactly like what Becker was at the wide receiver position for Indiana. D'Angelo Pons, who made some great
Mobile
plays in the
offensive lineman.
secondary
Yep.
for Indiana, like he's a guy that is going to make plays because he is in the right system and wants to play football.
Yeah. So, where does that leave us? So, portal's closed. That's done. Recruiting is done. National championship is done. So we're 100% in the off season now. And next up kind of feels like off season workouts and working towards the spring game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's last day to drop ad classes was today, the 20th. So pretty much roster is set. And I believe they did have the kind of the team meeting where Beamer's like, welcome to the new year. Let's fire this thing off. So they've done that. So I'm thinking, yeah, they're in winter workouts. And then probably within the next 3 weeks, they're going to start doing the practices for the spring.
Yeah. So look, may only be some tidbits from here. So we're probably going to get into more Gamecocks of the week, maybe some off-season type content. We've done some stuff on NIL, and the ins and outs of the portal a little bit. Maybe we'll broach the schedule a little bit too to look at that. Tell us what else you guys want to hear. We got some ideas for Gamecock of the week coming up next week, but we're always into what fans want to see. So let us know. But otherwise, that's going to bring a close the portal. That's going to bring a close to this season of NCAA football, barring a couple of other small bowls. I think like the Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, and going to bring us to a close to this episode of Alumni.
Gang!
Cox!
Gang!
Cox!
Good job, guys.
We'll see you
Well
next
done.
week.
Well done, boys.